Imagine the port city of Toulon in 1793, where a young and unknown man faced a daring challenge. This man, Napoleon Bonaparte, had to reclaim a critical naval base taken by old enemies. Can you believe a 24-year-old officer had to come up with a plan under such extreme pressure? It's like trying to win a game when you don't even have a full team. But this wasn't just any game. This was Napoleon's chance to prove himself.
Right? Toulon was more than a city. It was the spark that shaped a future military genius. Here, we'll uncover the secrets behind Toulon's impact on Napoleon's life. What decisions did the young Bonaparte make there that set the stage for his rise? Stick around as we dive into the chaos of the French Revolution, a time when everything seemed upside down.
Let's picture the summer of 1793. France, deep in its revolution, faced chaos. It seemed like the country was falling apart. The revolution had started with hope, but was now turning dark with political extremism taking over in Paris. Remember, extremists had taken control and they didn't hold back. The king was executed, and they had created something terrifying, called the Reign of Terror, dealing with anyone who opposed them swiftly and harshly.
And from this turmoil, France's leaders thought they might unite the country by declaring war on the Habsburg Empire. But they only made things worse. Soon, France was up against most of Europe's major powers. These countries didn't like France's ideas and saw the new republic as dangerous. They teamed up, hoping to stop this wild experiment in France before it could spread. It was truly a time when the whole continent was teetering on the edge.
But it wasn't just Europe that was in conflict with France. Within its own borders, many regions were unhappy with how extreme the revolution had become. They started their own revolts against the government. One such rebellion was in the city of Toulon, which was very serious because it was a key location. Toulon staging a revolt was a huge challenge for the French, since losing it meant a big blow to their control.
Exactly. Toulon was not just any city. It was the main naval base in the south of France with a large part of the French Navy. The British, always strategic, saw their chance and moved in, led by Admiral Lord Hood. They took over the Toulon port with ease, getting support from the local rebels. Now, the British had a strong position right on the French coast, which was a significant threat to France's naval power in the Mediterranean.
Here we are at Toulon, where the walls and forts around the city were strong. The city wasn't just any fort. It was held by a mix of British, Spanish, Neapolitan, and Sardinian forces. Imagine about 14,000 troops holding the line, and these weren't all just soldiers. The British Navy, led by Admiral Lord Hood, used the port with ease, making Toulon a huge threat to France.
A serious situation emerged for the French military. Many of their officers had left because they were aristocrats who didn't support the revolution. This left General Jean-François Carteau in charge, but he had an unexpected past. Picture this: a general who used to paint for a living, now expected to lead an army without a proper military background.
Further complications arose when one of France's rare experienced officers, Colonel Donmartin, was injured. His role was crucial, but now there was a need for a replacement who could manage the artillery effectively. This is when Antoine Salicetti, a member of the National Convention from Corsica, suggested a newcomer passing through Toulon, a young officer named Napoleon Bonaparte.
Bonaparte wasn't just an ordinary officer. At 24, he had a lot to prove. But Salicetti saw something in him, especially in the way he spoke about politics. He had even written a story showing his support for the Republic. His bold views made Salicetti believe that Bonaparte could turn things around, despite having little battle experience.
Now, let's dive into how Bonaparte faced some serious problems when he took charge of the artillery near Toulon. Just imagine stepping into a role where you have very few cannons and even fewer people who know how to use them. Plus, there wasn't enough gunpowder or shot, which are kind of like ingredients you desperately need to win a battle. It's like having a soccer team, but no one has ever kicked a ball before.
Exactly. But Bonaparte didn't let these challenges stop him. He came up with some smart ideas to turn things around. First, he found guns that weren't being used and taught infantrymen to become new gunners. He even set up new workshops and brought in 100,000 sandbags for building strong defenses. His work changed everything. helping him gather lots of artillery strength with trained crews. How he managed all this was quite impressive.
You're right. The batteries he set up were given interesting revolutionary names like La Montagne and Sans-Culotte. These names showed the power of the revolution. His actions forced Admiral Hood to move his ships closer to the port. This change in position of Hood's fleet was a big deal because it showed how Bonaparte's strategies made a real impact. He definitely caught the attention of the enemy, proving how resourceful he was, even with limited resources.
Indeed, Bonaparte wasn't just thinking about the present. He had a vision for a quick and effective victory. He suggested capturing Fort Leguillet would make all the difference. This fort was crucial because with it, he could position heavy guns for direct attacks against the British and Spanish fleet. Such a move could force Admiral Hood to retreat, removing the main support line for the rebels in Toulon. Clearly, Bonaparte had bigger plans in mind, showing off his strategic mind.
After Bonaparte's bold plans, General Carteau hesitated. Instead of sending a strong force, he committed only a few soldiers. It was unfortunate since the Allies quickly saw what he was attempting. They bolstered their defenses with many more troops. These new defenses soon became so strong that the French soldiers mockingly named it Little Gibraltar. It was a great miss and shows how lack of decisive action can lead to bigger issues later.
That's a good point. The situation seemed difficult for the French until General Dugommier arrived. He was a professional soldier and recognized that Bonaparte's plan was spot on. Dugommier's support and leadership were exactly what the French forces needed. Finally, they had someone who believed in a firm strategy and had the knowledge to act on it. Dugommier made quick changes and began preparing for a decisive strike to regain control.
Absolutely. With Dugommier backing him, Bonaparte set things in motion. He worked hard on building new positions to get ready for an important attack. There's an interesting story about one dangerous battery site. Soldiers were scared to go there because it was right under enemy fire. But when Bonaparte renamed it Battery of Men Without Fear, suddenly they were inspired to take action. This shows how a change in perspective can truly motivate people.
Incredible how confident leadership can lift spirits, right? The soldiers felt encouraged and ready to face any challenge. Bonaparte's knack for inspiring his men was remarkable. It was not just about physical strength, but also about inspiring their hearts. This kind of leadership made them believe in victory and pushed them to fight with courage. Bonaparte's actions not only strengthened their morale, but also brought the French army closer to success.
Now, where we left off, the Allied forces were gaining ground. General O'Hara led an unexpected counterattack on the French batteries. At first, things looked good for the Allies. They managed to push back the French and take control of a few key positions. For a moment, it felt as if they might actually hold their ground against the determined French forces. The situation became tense, and everyone was on edge, waiting to see how the French would respond to this setback.
Yes, exactly. But let's talk about how the French, under General Dugommier and Bonaparte's leadership, struck back with force. Their counterattack was quick and decisive, showing their ability to regroup under pressure. The Allies were caught off guard and didn't expect such a strong response. O'Hara, leading the Allied charge, was captured, which was a huge blow. Can you imagine this twice-defeated general, famous for surrendering to George Washington, now facing the same fate with Bonaparte?
Indeed, O'Hara's capture was significant. It was a key moment that improved the morale of the French troops. With this victory, Bonaparte and his men were ready to plan their next big move. They set their sights on Fort Mulgrave, ready to storm it and push the Allies further back. Launching this assault was no easy task, and the level of bravery displayed by the French soldiers was remarkable. Many faced dangerous and close combat as they advanced toward the fort.
True, and Bonaparte was right in the thick of it. Despite being young, he showed immense courage. During this battle, he had a close call. A British sergeant's bayonet injured him deeply, and it was just inches away from being life-threatening. This near-death experience didn't stop him. Instead, it spurred him on. His bravery inspired his troops to fight harder. Ultimately, the French forces overwhelmed the garrison, capturing the fort and marking a turning point in the Siege of Toulon.
The French forces moved swiftly to take control of key forts around Toulon. These forts were very important because they provided a strong position. By taking these forts back, the French aimed to gain a better position at sea. This was not just a win for the land forces, but also a big shift in naval power. With these strategic places secured, the French planned their next moves to protect their coast.
That's right, and this forced Admiral Hood to make a tough decision. He ordered an evacuation, knowing that staying longer could be dangerous. The Allies quickly worked to destroy any supplies and ships they couldn't take. It was a hurried and chaotic time as they tried to leave nothing useful behind for the French. However, in their rush, they missed the chance to destroy everything, which turned out to be a mistake.
Indeed, and this allowed the French to reclaim several of their ships. It was a vital opportunity that helped them build back some of their naval strength. But not everyone in Toulon was so lucky. Many citizens were desperate to escape on the Allied ships. They knew that the return of the Republicans would bring severe punishments. Panic spread as they realized not all would get away before the Allies sailed off.
When the Republican soldiers came back into Toulon, the situation turned grim. There was a heavy crackdown on those seen as traitors. Executions were common, and a dark cloud hung over the city. While Toulon had been a chance for the first success against the French, it ended up being a harsh lesson. The fall of Toulon marked a significant moment, showing how determined the Republic was to stay in power.
As we look back on the events in Toulon, it was a major turning point. The city was not just another victory, but a symbol showing the power and change that was happening in France. This was also the beginning of Napoleon Bonaparte's rise to fame. From being a young officer stepping up during a crisis, he now stood on a path that would change history forever.
With Toulon's fall, the stage was set for the next 21 years of war that lay ahead for Europe. Revolution was never easy, and many challenges were still to come. If you found this chapter interesting, please like and comment to let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to hear more about exciting topics and dive deeper into history with us.